So good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Power of Print webinar in conjunction with our friends at Fundy Designer. And I also have Mark Seymour online with us now. Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Yeah, really well. Hi, Jay. How you doing? And thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's always good to have you back. I mean, we've been friends for a long time now, and great.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
It has been a long time. Old dogs, as they say. But great to have you with us, and obviously this time in conjunction with our friends at Fundy. So a completely sort of bit of different slant, really, because we're normally looking at the photography, but tonight we're talking a bit about the business as well on that, mate. But before we get going, though, Mark, obviously there are people that might not be aware of who you are and what you do. So if we would just have a quick chat just to get us up to speed and just tell us about your journey into photography, mate.
Okay, brilliant. You can see my home screen now. Can you on my computer?
No, they'll be seeing my screen at the moment still, bud, with your links, and
Okay.
I'll be giving you the screen in a sec. But we can give you the screen if you
Okay.
prefer it.
Well, no, it's fine. Well, first of all, a massive thank you to everyone who's tuned in tonight, and I really hope you go away with some real gems to increase your sales and make great albums. But just 2 minutes about myself. I'm a wedding photographer. I've been around in the wedding photography business now for around 30 years, and that's an awfully long time. And one of the keys is to keep reinventing yourself and move with the times. My real love, though, is streets and travel photography, and I run workshops around the world with Nikon UK as an ambassador of theirs and as a Nikon trainer. And in fact, if anyone is going to the photography show, we're actually launching the Travel Photography Adventures Workshop Company, and we're on J72. We're going to have some great offers on, and if you're interested in going to India or Vietnam and places like that, do come and see us. But that's enough about me, and just let's talk about the topic tonight, which is sales and albums.
Brilliant, mate. Thanks for that. So I'm going to give you the screen, and I'll let you know that we can see everything clearly. So it's coming over to you now, bud. You should just get a prompt there to share your screen, and I'll let you know when we can see everything. There we go. Brilliant. So I can see everything nice and clear, Mark. I can hear you loudly. So I'm going to go quiet. I'll feed you questions where appropriate. Feel free to ask me at any point if there are any questions, if you've got a natural break. And guys, don't forget, obviously, we want you to interact with us tonight. So please pop in the question panel any questions you have for Mark. And Ali, before I forget, I always forget to tell people about the Fundy Storytelling Facebook group. So guys, you just definitely want to go and join that. Ali's going to share the link with you in the chat panel. Mark, it's all yours, bud.
Okay, so here we go. So let's just get straight into this because we've got a lot of stuff to get through. And Jay has said, wow, I don't think we're going to get through it, but we'll have a damn good go tonight. So this is what I'm going to talk about this evening, how to book more clients, upselling albums, and the software I use that enables me to upsell those albums, which is Fundy, of course. So I'm going to skip right, onto the sort of inquiry funnel, because I'm assuming you're getting inquiries through, and I'm going to take us from that point of when you get these inquiries, how to convert them as best you can into real bookings. I do talk about inquiry funnels and that sort of thing in other sort of webinars, but I'm going to assume you've got an inquiry, or your phone is ringing, or you're receiving an email with an inquiry from a potential bride. So I'm sort of always booking great clients, thankfully. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is I've got a very good referral network, and I'd really encourage any of you to build a solid referral network. It's so much more better than relying on Google AdWords or the latest analog rhythms, because you can't control theirs, whereas you can control and you can make great relationships with people that will feed you great leads. And over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had leads from these hotels that have given us clients that have spent anywhere between £2,000 and £50,000 on a single wedding. So let's just assume you're attracting the ideal client, which again is really important. It's something else we talk about briefly, but it's really important that your website's set up and you're attracting the right bride and grooms, the people that love your work and that want to deal with you. And it's worth looking at that. And there's loads of stuff around. If not, come and talk to me separately. But finding your ideal client and making sure that they're the people that come through to your website is a big key in sort of what you're doing. But let's get straight on. So let's start with the inquiry and just go through this really sort of in small steps, how I go from receiving that inquiry to booking the client. So photography is still about sales. It just happens that we're photographers as well, and we love what we're doing, but ultimately we still got to convert that into an order. So we have to be good salespeople as well. And I'd encourage any of you that struggle a little bit with that, just get on a good sales course, because there's lots out there and they're well worth their weight if you get stuff from it. But the main three sales models that are the sort of traditional hard sell, you don't see so much of that these days. It's more sort of a 70s thing, with a double glazing and just keep plugging away and don't take no for an answer. And that used to go around in the 70s with sort of wedding companies, etc. But most photographers use number 2, which is the show and tell model. It does leave things to chance. And then there's the third model where I call it the consultant model, and that's what I'm going to really be talking about this evening. Is position yourself as a consultant so that the bride trusts you. So most people tell clients what they offer by explaining, we offer this and we charge this. They ask closed questions. So where is your venue? And people say, is it Clifton? Or where did you find me? Google. And then you'll say, this is what I do. And it just leads to a very short meeting. It adds to a meeting that you don't really get a lot of value from, and it leads to a meeting where you don't really come away knowing a lot more about the bride and groom, and certainly it doesn't let you differentiate yourselves. So really the best thing to do is try and position yourself as a consultant. And once I started doing this, my conversion rate went up significantly. And that's for 2 reasons. Number one, I'm seeing the right type of clients, the clients that want my type of photography. And secondly, when they come through the door, I'm converting around about 8 in every 10. So it's quite a high conversion rate. I don't get that many leads. If I get 1 or 2 leads a week, that's really good for me. And then from there, we see even less of those. So when they call, you need to ask open questions that demand a thoughtful answer from the bride. And if she has to think about those answers, she's going to appreciate you as a photographer more. But firstly, let's just think about purchasing experiences and what we've enjoyed, and when we have a great experience. For example, if we go to a great restaurant and there's an incredible waiter in there and he really looks after us and he sort of wraps us in a blanket and he just is the most amazing waiter we've ever had, and we really enjoy that experience. It's kind of the same when you go into maybe buy some clothes or just lots of little things where you have great experiences, and it's really worth making notes about that sort of thing, that when you do and thinking like, what did that guy do to make me feel so good, and taking those points and try and building them into your own consultation stroke sales pitch when you actually see the clients. But the consultant model that I'm going to be talking about lets you build emotion, create a great experience, lets you give great value, and means you become a trusted person to that bride. That means they're going to book you because they want to be dealing with you as a person. And why consultants? Because consultants are hired for their opinion. Consultants are hired because you trust them. And consultants are hired because they're an expert and you open up and you tell them what you want, and when they give you the answers, you trust and believe them. And it's the same if you think when you go to see a doctor or you go to see a consultant. When the consultant talks to you, you take on everything on board that he says because he's a consultant and you trust him. I'm not saying we should liken ourselves to doctors and nurses, but we can be a consultant within the wedding industry and an expert within the photography business. So consultants ask questions, consultants learn about their clients, and when you become a consultant, they book you for you, and they tend to tell you less what they want, and they let you guide them as to the style of photography that you do and that you want to do, but they want that as well because they've come to you. So if you want to become a consultant, you need to learn, excuse me, just a quick gulp of water there, you need to learn about your client. So let's just assume you've got this email inquiry come through, and I would encourage people to sort of try and answer them ASAP. I normally try and answer all my emails within 30 minutes, and quite often if it pops up on the screen and I'm working, I'll answer it immediately. I've got a piece of software on the Mac that just lets me sort of type out the inquiry just by making a few keys, and I could just jiggle it to sort of make it sort of more personal. And what I generally do is when I respond to that inquiry, I normally say to them, or part of the response says to them, I'm here now. If you'd like to have a quick chat, I'd love to find out more about your wedding. I'm available now in 10 or 15 minutes or this afternoon. And you'd be surprised, I reckon over 50% of them I talk to within that half-hour period. Probably before maybe a lot of the photographers have even picked the phone up or even seen the email. I've gone back and I've got a fair proportion of appointments, or I've certainly spoke to that bride, and I'm asking some really basic questions to find out if she's my ideal client and if I'm going to take it further. So the client meeting, and I'd really encourage you to have meetings rather than conduct a business by email. It's really important to get to know people, and people do business with people. An email could be cold, it maybe doesn't come over correctly, but when you talk to someone or when you sit down with them over a coffee, you can see the whites of their eyes and you can see their emotions, and you can engage with them a lot better. It lets you learn as much as possible about them. And when you sit down with them, it allows you to ask some really deep questions to establish their needs. And those really deep questions are going to let you, or going to establish trust, and ask, they're going to it's going to let you establish trust. So again, consultants ask and salespeople explain, and that's the big difference between the two sort of methods that I'm going to talk more about in the next sort of 15-20 minutes. If there's any questions anyone's got as we're going through, just type them out to Jay, and we'll do our best to answer them, but it'll be great to hear from some of you. So ask questions, show them you're interested in them as people, ask them questions about themselves. Don't tell them things, just take it as if it's a new relationship. It's when you met your partner for the first time, you're all excited and you want to find out as much about them as possible. If you see people in coffee shops, in that position, you can see how interested they are in each other, and try and be like that when a bride comes in to your place with your meeting. When we see them, we don't show them albums, not for quite a long time during the meeting. Most of the clients that come and see me know my work, and I'm guessing they know your work too. they wouldn't have come and seen you, and they wouldn't have bought into you, and they wouldn't have wasted their time if they weren't interested in your work. So ask questions. It's not about being pushy. It's about building some great trust. And when they can trust you, you literally can ask them virtually anything you like. And it's amazing how deep a question you can ask them, or how personal a question you can ask them once they trust you. Believe me, once you sort of get into this, you'll be quite shocked at what you can get away with. So great questions lets you dictate the meeting. It lets you know what they really want, and it makes you an authority, and it's really going to differentiate you from any other photographers out there, because most people won't be doing this. So it's going to enable you to go away and book more clients. So let's sort of just zip ahead, and let's assume we've had the phone call with a couple and we've arranged a meeting, and I prefer face-to-face. I'm fortunate that I've got a room dedicated to my photography, so I can bring clients to my place. But if you can't do that and you don't have that, do it in a hotel that's similar to their venue, or if they're a long run away, you might have to do it by Skype if that's not possible. Don't go doing it in places like a Costa Coffee, where there's maybe mums with babies there, or there's lots of background noise. Go to somewhere, if they're in a posh hotel, go to that type of posh hotel for the meeting, because they'll feel comfortable there, because that's where they're having their wedding. But always try and do face to face. It's so much more better, or so much better. So questions. As I'm sure you're all sort of thinking, like, okay, Mark's been saying all this thing, but what do we ask? And you can ask just these little things like this to start with, and they're what I will call sort of warm-up questions. And some of us might ask these sort of things anyway, but they're lightweight questions. They're really easy to ask. How did you meet? How did you decide on your venue? How did you decide on the style of wedding? So really good little lightweight questions. They're not going to get deep into about the wedding, but you can't go straight in with the deep questions. You need to build up to those, and they'll come later in the meeting. That'll give you that sort of massive value that's really going to sort of differentiate you. So when we go deeper with vision building, so they're sort of giving us these answers that we're asking them questions to, and it lets them think about their wedding and dream a little bit about their wedding. So we need to ask quite deep, open questions, not closed questions. We need to sort of end the questions with why, what, or how. Example, what's the most important thing to you on your wedding day? If you ask that to a bride, she's going to think about it, and she's going to give you probably quite a long answer and quite a detailed answer. She's certainly not going to say the drink, or she might, probably not going to say her dress. She's going to talk about, being romantic probably, or, being with her friends and all those little things. And ask her, why did you decide to get married at this particular venue? And she's going to give you, hopefully, an answer. I mean, she might just say to you, well, it's the only one around. And I'm not saying all these questions should be asked all the time, but you can pick and choose which questions need to be asked when you feel the opportunity is right. So, an example, what's the most important thing to you on your wedding day? Why did you get married at the venue? Rather than, where are you getting married? Because if you just say to her, where are you getting married? She's going to say, Clifton, Danesfield, and then the answer's closed. Whereas if you ask the open question, she's going to come back to you with a lot more information. And the more information she gives you, the more comfortable she's going to be with you, and the more she's going to trust you. So open questions are extremely powerful. So I've just listed out what I call like a list of first tier questions here for you to sort of take down and maybe use if you want to. how's the planning coming along, and what stage are you? And so they might say, we haven't done anything yet. They're probably going to say to you, well, we've used we've booked the venue, we've booked the videographer, we've booked the band. And then when they start opening up, there's all sorts of little other questions can come out that, what band are you using, or why did you do that? And as she's giving you this information, take notes, because when you take notes, it shows that you care. How did you get engaged? No girl's going to answer that, well, we just did. She's going to tell you the story about how she got engaged. She's going to tell you probably why they got engaged at a particular place and how he proposed to her. And these first tier questions are great for 2 points. Number one, it's letting you find out about them as a couple. Number two, it's letting them open up to you, and they're becoming really friendly and telling you all about their wedding. And thirdly, most importantly, when you come to write that blog later, you can write a really personal blog because you know about them and their wedding. So you can really customize your blog to each individual couple, rather than, a lot of photographers write a blog as, the wedding was fantastic and they were an amazing couple, and it was awesome, the wedding was, and that's about it. And you can't keep doing that every week. Whereas if you can tell a story about their wedding, you're going to have far more interaction and engagement with your website through the blogs as well. So how did you decide on Clifton as your wedding venue? Again, she's going to ask, rather than where is your wedding venue, she's going to come back to you and say, we loved Clifton. We always used to go walking around the grounds there, and it just seemed a natural place for us to get married because it just meant so much to us, and we wanted to spend that day together there with our friends. And she's going to open up to you. How did you meet each other? And you might not feel comfortable asking all these, but you can put some of them in to start with, and if you get the right answers, just take it a bit further each time. And then we can start getting a little bit deeper, and I'm going to go on to second tier questions in a moment. But when you say to a bride, what are you looking forward to most then on your day? And most girls will know what they're looking forward to, and no one else will have asked them that. No other photographer, certainly. And she's going to just tell you everything that she's looking forward to on the day. And it might be, I'm really looking forward to spending, an hour with a photographer so I could be a total princess and look amazing in my wedding dress. If she said that, that wouldn't be my bride, and she probably wouldn't say that to me. But most of my clients are saying to me, I'm really looking forward to just getting married and spending time with my friends and family and having an amazing day. So when she answers these questions, she's actually giving you answers as well to the type of photography that she wants. So she's reinforcing to herself the type of photography that she wants, which is actually what you do, because she's come round to see you because she likes your work. Second tier questions. These go a little bit deeper, and they're sometimes, the first time you do it, they're quite difficult to ask. But if someone asked you these sort of things, most people would feel quite comfortable answering them. And what would you like your guest experience to be on the wedding day? And again, it's really aimed at the type of photography that you do. And I do purely documentary photography, so most of my clients are going to answer that, well, we want them to have an amazing experience. We want to share it with them. And we don't want them to be spending an hour with a photographer doing groups. We want a couple of groups, and we want a couple of nice pictures of the two of us. But, we want our guests to just have an amazing time and some lovely food and be with us and their friends on the wedding day. That's the type of thing that brides answer, from my experience of asking these questions over the last couple of years. What are you looking for in your photography? It's quite a deep question. And you actually get some brides looking at you like, whoa, I hadn't thought about that really. But when she starts coming back to you and answering you what she's looking for, she's going to start again explaining to you what you do. And you can answer that by reaffirming it, or, you know, if she doesn't, if it's not, you can sort of bat it away and bring it back round to what the style of photography that you do. You know, she's going to hopefully say to me, do you know what I'm really looking for? Just lots of lovely moments that capture my day, you know, that tell me the story, and because I'm not going to see everything, so you know, I'm looking forward to seeing the pictures when I get back, so it tells me what's going on. I still want a couple of groups, you know, but I can't want some really nice portraits of the two of us, but you know, just a couple. You know, the main thing is about it's our wedding day, and we want you to capture it. So that's the sort of answers you get back, and you can develop it further from there. Have any weddings you've been to recently influenced you? And you'll tend to find a lot of couples who are getting married are in that sort of zone where they're also going to friends' weddings as well. And they may have been to a wedding where, you know, they just think, you know what, I don't want my wedding like that at all. I don't want to be an hour with the photographer. Or they might be the exact opposite. They might say, you know what, that photographer never spent any time with the bride and groom. I want some really fantastic portraits. But if you know their influences, again, they're telling you what they want, and you need to reaffirm it back to them, and just get them to reconfirm it. And they're actually telling you then, this is what I want. Ask a bride, you know, what are you most excited about? And you'd be amazed at what they come back with and what they tell you. It's, you know, some of them tell you, you know, some of these meetings can go on a little bit long, and they'll start telling you all about their life and everything. Most of them will just say, you know what, I'm just really looking forward to getting, you know, the wedding over and done with, and having just an amazing, you know, reception, then just dancing the night away with my friends and family. And I just want it all to happen, but I want it to be perfect, and I want to trust people who I've chosen just to get on with it and give me what I want. And then another great question is, you know, how are you going to use your pictures after the wedding? What are you going to do with them? And again, most brides won't have even thought of this, but it's a good preemptor to selling an album, because a lot of couples will say, yeah, you know, we probably want them digitally, but, you know, we want an album, and we might get it later, or but you're starting to talk about the album then, and plant those little seeds in their mind about those sort of things. But they'll tell you what they want them for. They might just say, you know what, we just want a couple of prints, small prints in frames around the house, and then we just want to put all the rest of them in a scrapbook and just enjoy them for what they are. Or, you know, we want a really lovely album so that, you know, when we have kids, we can show it to them. What would you most love to see in your pictures? Again, it's quite a deep question, and most people are going to, you know how they're going to answer it. They're going to say, I just want to see, you know, great expressions, fun, laughter. But they're telling you what they want, and all these questions are geared to the type of photography that I particularly take. So, you know, they're going to be saying, yeah, I want to see emotion. I want to see people hugging, and, you know, just people smiling and laughing. Whereas if you don't do documentary, do the other style, they'll be saying, you know what, I just want to see some amazing portraits of me. We've got this amazing venue, and I just want one, you know, with the castle in the background, or, you know, all those lovely trees that are lit up in the evening, and I want a lovely sunset. So you kind of know what she's looking for, and that's the beauty of asking these sort of open questions that are quite deep. These questions are quite deep, and, you know, go into them really carefully to start with. Ask one or two, and if you feel comfortable, ask up the next one, etc. So these are all the questions that will lead them to realizing that they want you. So zipping ahead really quickly. So in your meeting, prepare them. Get ready for the meeting. So prepare yourself, I mean. and get ready for the meeting. Never go into a meeting unprepared. Have your notes there, and quite often, my notes will be, those questions I'll have on the left-hand side of my notepad, and on the right-hand side, I'll be taking notes down and writing down what they give me as an answer. The reason I take notes down, as I said earlier, it just shows you care. It shows you're reliable. You don't need to say, you know what, I'm a really reliable photographer, I'd never let you down, we'll always be there for you. You don't need to say those sorts of things, because by doing what you're doing, you're taking action. It shows you're reliable, and it shows you value what they say to you. Also, any sort of, when you spoke to her on the phone or on email, any of those little notes that she said, just write down. I even write down their names, and I say it to them 3 or 4 times. I say, of course, Jennifer, and yes, Jennifer, and yeah, of course. And it's just because I've got the most terrible memory in the world, and I forget people's names. So I learnt this thing that if I keep saying it 2 or 3 times, it'll be ingrained on me, and I'll know it. So let's just assume you've got a venue, or you've got a place you can go and see, you can see them in your house. If you can't, you'll often have to go to a different step along this list of 11 little steps I've written out. My room is prepared already. My girlfriend's really good at this. She lights some candles in the room, and we put a really low level of music on. It's like jazz love. It's pretty indescript. It's not going to be offensive to anyone. It's just in the background. So when they come in, there's just some low-level music there. Always offer them a coffee or tea. Good coffee, not instant stuff. And when they come in, I just say, "Hi guys, just take a seat. Would you like a coffee?" It's just put the kettle on, and it's very rarely that one of them might say no, it's all right, but we'll have a glass of water, but most people say yes. And if you want them to say yes, because you want to get back out of that room. So what I do is, once they sat down, I put on a slideshow, which is obviously prepped before. You can put it on a laptop, or you can have you can have a big TV in front of you, and prepare a slideshow with your wow images, your 20 or 30, just like knock the socks off images that they're going to go, wow, 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 wow. Last about 3 or 4 minutes long. One song is enough. Put that slideshow on and get out of the room. Go and make the coffee, and then come back in at the end of the slideshow. If you're ready before the slideshow ends, stay outside and wait till the show's finished. Let them be there by themselves. You quite often find they're sat on my sofa and they've sort of snuggled up to each other, and they're just looking at the show, and they're pictures that show emotions from different parts of the day for me. I come in with the coffee, and then I go through the questioning section that we've just spoken about. So that can last sometimes 30 minutes of questioning before they've even seen an album. I then pick up an album. There's no albums on display in the room at all. They're there, but they're underneath the table. And the reason I don't let them touch the albums or hold the albums or see the albums for is I want to control how they look at those albums. So I get my album out, and my album is similar to the slideshow. It's different images. It's not one complete wedding. It's about 30 wow images. They're all full-size prints. There's not 2 images on a page or 1 image on a page, or sorry, 4 images on a page. There's 1 image per page. And I go through that. I hold the album, and I flick over the page slowly. And when I come to each picture, I tell a story around it. And like, look, this is the moment, she's, because this is the moment that you're walking down the aisle, because she's normally said, like, that's one of my key shots. I really want a picture of his face when I walk down the aisle. And you can just say, look, I don't need to take a picture of you when you walk down the aisle. I says, or look for you. I said, I'm looking at him. And I said, I know you're in their room because his face is going to change totally. He's going to start smiling, or he's going to well up, and I'm going to take a picture and capture that. And then I'm going to turn around and capture you. So you're telling a story about each little picture as it goes on. I then go through the price list. I'll come on to that really, really briefly in a second. I then always ask them if they feel there's anything I've missed, rather than saying to them, I think we've covered everything there, because I want them to come back to me and say, yeah, I think you've gone through everything. So they've reaffirmed that I've gone through everything, and it's getting them involved again. I then leave the room, make an excuse to get out of the room. I normally say, do you mind if I just pop out to the little boy's room? And if I go to a hotel, I do the same. I just say, oh, do you mind if I just pop to the gents for 2 minutes? I want to leave them by themselves so that they can have a little chat with no one else in the room. If you don't let them have that chat by themselves, you'll never ever close them. And quite often, people book the last photographer they see. So it's really important to make sure you're the last photographer they see. They go to someone else and they're pretty similar, they might stay there because they just feel comfortable, and then they've forgotten about the first or second photographer they saw. Pricing. I've got 3 prices: expensive, the one you want to sell, and basic. Expensive is double the one I want to sell, and probably 1 or 2 people would take it a year. I've then got the one I want to sell. It doesn't matter what your prices are, whether it be £500 or £5,000. The one you want to sell is the middle package always, and it gives people an option. Always start off and always show them your most expensive price to start with, so they've almost forgotten about it by the time you've finished your sales presentation. Lastly, give the basic price. The basic price should be the price is the minimum price that you're prepared to go out for. And then you've got the a la carte options. And the great thing about a la carte options is that you can use these to add in sweeteners without discounting your price. So you can add in little things in, like a frame print or an extra hour after dancing, or you can add a second photographer and do it at a discount price. But it gives a win-win situation. It's a bit like if you're buying a car, and you go in and it's £20,000, and the salesman says, well, I can't really do anything on the price of the car, but you know what? I can upgrade the stereo for you, or I can give you metallic paint free, and all those little things. So it's a win-win for everyone. So that's basically the end of the little sort of sales pitch that I go through with everyone. If you ever want to know more information, feel free to pick up the phone or send me an email. On my website, you'll see a lot about one-to-one personal training. I also do up and close and personal with groups of 2 and 3 on a single day. And I also do a lot of street and travel photography. And I do that both personally and also with Nikon UK. There's my phone number, my website. Feel free to pick up the phone. We love to talk to people. Okay, how to increase wedding album sales. Is there any quick questions there, Jay, for a second?
I think you've answered most of the ones, but I've kept a few, to be honest. Going right back to the beginning, when you get that initial inquiry, do you ask the bride to call you, or if you've got the number, do you pick up the phone, or do you just do the initial conversation via email?
Sometimes I just pick the phone up and I just say, oh, hi, I just got your inquiry. Are you available for 5 minutes? And she might say, no, I'm not, but can I call you back in 10 minutes or an hour? I don't think there's any problem picking the phone up. If she's given you a phone number, and she's sent the inquiry through, she's obviously sitting at her desk and she's got 5 minutes.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And actually, the next question was actually just the same question. It's just been reworded slightly different. Obviously, you've explained what you do, because you've obviously bringing the client to you where you can. I'm sure that you've kind of answered this in this last bit. If you are going to them or you're meeting them, are you just taking that one album with you then, Mark, or are you taking other examples?
I take the slideshow still, and I show it to them, but I sit with them, and I then have an album of my favourites, and then I have an album that a third album that I show them. And sorry, I missed that out of my presentation actually. The last album I show them is actually like a real bridal album, so it's got between 1 and 6 pictures per page, and I've got 4 or 5 albums that I can pick from, and I try and mirror the bride as much as I can. So, you know, if she's a slightly larger girl, I'm not going to show her a stick-thin model bride, and vice versa. You know, I want her to think, you know what, he photographs people like me. So, you know, if I'm going out, it's a bit more difficult to do that. Most times I go out, it tends to be for my Jewish clients, because a lot of those won't come around my house because I don't operate a kosher house. But that's how I do it.
Brel, the other questions, I think there's a good chance you're going to answer in this section, so I'll hang on to them, and if you don't answer it, then I'll ask them afterwards for you, bud.
So let's zip through this, and we might run 5 minutes over, I think. So pre-sell. The only way to sell albums is to pre-sell them. If a client says we're going to order an album afterwards, guess what? They never will. I can honestly say in probably 15, 20 years, I can count on one hand the amount of brides that have come back after the wedding and said, we want an album now, we can afford it. Pre-sell the album, and we send them a form about a month before if they've not sort of decided they want one yet, and we offer them a deal to buy an album. And we say to them, you know, the normal price for the album, and for a 14 by 10 album, we charge $895 as a standard price. We offer a £200 discount if they book it there and then, before the wedding. It's booked and paid for before the wedding. And then we've got other options of more expensive and smaller parent albums. But you must pre-sell it. When you're shooting, don't do it totally, but try and keep in mind a bit about sequencing, because you want to put in more photographs than they bought. So the package they buy from me generally has 50 images in it, and most couples think at that point, you know, we're going to get all the images on disc, 50 is plenty in an album. Little do they know what they're going to get hit with when they get back from a honeymoon. So when they get back, I design for them the perfect album. I design it as my sample album with absolutely no thought to they've only ordered 50 pictures. I put at least 150 pictures in their album. So they're going to find it really difficult to take images out. You will get some couples that say, you know, I only want these 50 images. But if you tell couples, yeah, send me your list of 50, they'll do that, and it's almost becomes like a target. Oh, we've got to get it to 50. You don't want them to do that. You want to design the album, and you want to control it, a bit like the sales process. Control the album as well. It's the only way that you'll upsell it. The minimum goal for me is to upsell it to cover the cost of the album. So if Loxers are charging me 300 quid for the album, that's kind of the minimum amount I want to upsell them, so that effectively I've got all the money they've already given me. So just said that, you must not let them choose their wedding pictures. You do it. Don't let them choose at all. When I've designed this album with 150 images in it, I send it over to them, and I use Fundy all the way through. I use Fundy for designing the albums, and I use Fundy Proofer to show them the album. It's a bit like a flipping book. It's a brilliant piece of software, so they can see the album as it's laid out, and they can click on each image and they can say, don't like this one, take it out and swap it over for this one. And that's explained in a covering letter with, you know, we've designed your perfect album. You've got so many amazing pictures. The album as it stands would normally cost an additional £1,500, but if you leave it as it is, we're really happy to reduce it to just 450 or 499 or 500 pounds, something like that. So it's given them a crazy reduction over what they would have to pay if they ordered extra prints themselves. Most people take up that offer. I'd say a good 80% of people take up that offer. The reason they take it up is because, number one, they're lazy. Number two, they're looking at it and they're going, wow, how can we take that image out? So we say to them in the letter, you can take any page out you like. It's no problem. You're under no obligation to do this, but they can't take a page out and they don't know how to redesign it themselves. So they generally take up the offer, but you can't make the offer at 1,500 quid unless you've got amazing clients. But if you make it a crazy price for them, but still making a good profit for yourself, most couples will take up that offer. So I wanted to go into that in a lot more detail, but it looks like we've got about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to show you how amazing the Fundy Designer piece of software is. It's the best software to help you make great albums. And I don't know how many of you use it, but if you've not used it, I'm going to hopefully wow you and show you how quick it is to make an album. And we'll probably make it in under, like, let's say under a minute we'll make this album. So I'm just going to change my screen. I'm going to bring up the Fundy. That's not that one, sorry. Cancel. So there's the Fundy piece of software which you get, and basically you just click new project. I'm going to put in there Robin and Pete, and then I'm going to go okay. Okay. Do you want to overwrite? Yeah, of course I do. So then I'm going to go click here to add pictures, and I can't see. Let me just close all this down. Add photographs, and then I'm going to go to my desktop, okay. This is what happens when you. Oh, sorry. I say Robin Pete. It was called James Gale. I decided to do. Do apologise. So add photographs, desktop, James Gale. There's all these pictures for his wedding I've chosen, and I've just put for this purpose in there. Sorry, I'm not having a lot of luck here. I do apologise. So there, it's importing the pictures now. And I put about 30 pictures or 40 pictures in it just for this demonstration. In fact, I'm using the pictures that I used for their slideshow. So, and they're all high-res images. So let's just give it a few more moments. Is there any questions, Jay, while I'm doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look. Excuse me, sorry. What size are your sample albums, mate?
I generally use, I'm a Loxley ambassador, and I use Loxley albums. And the album I use is the Bellissimo art album. And I only use one type of album as the main album. It's 14 inches by 10 inches.
And that would reflect in your sample albums as well, and is it the same size and same design and same album?
Yep, so I have a main album, and then I also have smaller versions of it, which are parent albums. The reason I have the smaller parent albums is I do a lot of Jewish weddings, and Jewish weddings, they all have parent albums.
Brilliant. I can see your images are ready, so I'll let you crack on, and I'll hang on to these questions for you, mate. So, okay. Sorry, I'm flitting around here, and because I'm not concentrating, I'm just forgotten which button to press here. So let's just close that down.
Could someone help me here, Jay?
Yeah, so Mark, you'll just want to go back to that first icon you clicked on to add an album.
Yep.
Click new album there.
Oh yeah,
And
sorry.
Locks,
Yeah.
choose all your specs, yeah.
Next, that's right. So, and there's the fine art next, and there's the 14x10 one next, and then we go for a basic cover next, and then we're going to call it sample, and then we're going to go create album. Is that right? And then we go, where do we go next?
Yep, so you'll just select some photos in your image well down there and drag them onto the spread.
Okay, so we want to just do a total auto design. Let's just hit that.
Auto design, yeah.
30 pages, 58 images. So let's make it a 15-page album. We've got 58 images. We have one as a minimum and 6 per as a maximum. And we're going to hit design. And there it is, bang. There's your album design. And then if you want to, what you can now do, if you don't like this particular design, so if you go into this picture here, and then you hit layout, and it's going to give you all those options there. So you can actually say, you know what, I like this one here. You know what, I actually don't like that big picture there. This big picture should be this one here. So you can swap it around like that. And then, you know, if you did have some, you might not, I haven't got them here. Well, actually, I'll tell you how. So, you know, let's just go to, let's just find one with a bit of black and white if I've got one. Okay, we haven't got any black and white there. So if you had one black and white image, you could actually sort of make them all black and white very, very easily. You can, if you want, you can say, you can make this bigger, this thing. So if you wanted to do a full bleed one, you just take these things out to the edge here, and then you just hit fit, and then bang, it's gone to the right thing. Sorry, there's the black and white image, which is the key, you know, it's the key image of the day. And if you think, you know what, that doesn't look quite right like that, I want the whole album to look black and white, you just hit that there, black and white there, bang. It's not as good as you're going to get in Lightroom's conversion, but you know, it's good enough to show the client that what it's going to look like. And then basically you just hit that, and you place your order, and that is as quick as it goes, and it goes straight to Loxley, or you can go straight to Graphy, and it's fulfilled. It can either be sent directly to your client, or it can be sent to you so you can proof it yourself, and then take it from there. Any questions on that?
I do, mate. Yeah. But obviously, what I love about this is that, you know, to be fair, you were right. It was about a minute, wasn't it? I mean, it was.
It's scary how fast it is, isn't it?
It really, really is. I mean, I tell this story, but it's hand on heart, a true story. When Mark here, Mark Cleghorn, as in the Academy, Mark found Fundy, which is a good few years ago now. He actually sent me the album, like you're talking about, first of all, and then he asked me the question: is how long did it take him to do it? And I know Mark's pretty fast. Our Mark is pretty fast at these things, but you know, I said, oh, you know, a couple of hours, and he went 20 minutes, and that was the day he found Fundy and had to learn it and try it.
That was the first version, which it was probably 20 minutes. But the amazing thing is, you know, you've got this image here, and you know what, I don't like that particular design. It doesn't do the album justice. But you know, there we are. Look, you've got all these options now, and you know, how long would it take you if you don't like that? I think you can refresh it there. I just do that there, and it refreshes it again. Let's just select that one there. Let's just whiz it around. You can change it around. Yeah. Let's have the big image down here. Let's have the dress over there instead. So you can just change it around as much as you like, and it's just so quick. And then what you do then is you'll export this to your Fundy proofer, and then you'll email this to the client, and they'll see this as actually as a folding book. And then what they can do on the folding book software, they can actually click on a photograph and say, I don't like this. And even though I design albums, you need to give clients some leeway, because you know what, if there's 100 people at their wedding, there's going to be some plus ones there, and you might put someone in there who's the most amazing person at the wedding, full of laughter and a great character, and you might put them in the album, and yet they may not know them. So you need to give them the opportunity to make some changes to the album.
I think the freedom is incredible, and like you said, you know, we've demonstrated in no time at all how quickly you can, especially, you know, if album design, well, you know, getting your time back is key. But you know, some people don't. You know, I don't have the skills. You know, well, I do, but it would take me ages to do the album. And where, you know, why when I've got this amazing tool in front of me. What I thought was really interesting, Mark, and it came up a couple of times in the question panel, and not just from yourself, from the last few sort of webinars we've been doing with in this Fundy series, but along with some guest wedding photographers, is this sort of pre-design and buy it as it is really taking off, isn't it? You know, or the upsellers you've mentioned, but
yeah, I mean, you say it's done, but you know, I remember doing this. You know, when digital albums first come out, we were doing it, and you know, we've always done it, but it seems to be just recaught on again. And I think the reason it's recaught on again is because it's so easy to design the album, and the Fundy software is so good, and link it in, not just the designer, with the proofing software, and you've really got a set of tools that will let you sell offline quickly. The only thing I'd say to everyone out there is don't tell the bride and groom it only took you a minute to design.
yeah.
I wouldn't give her a design for probably a couple of weeks or a week, and I'd just say, oh, you know, it takes me at least a day to work on an album like this.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely.
it takes a minute. She's not going to see any value in it at all.
Absolutely. Mark, let's get through the questions for you, and then
go for it.
let's talk about. Then we need to quickly chat about where we're all going to be next weekend. Have you? This is quite an interesting question. Have you ever been asked to do something that you would feel? Have you ever been asked to do something that you would feel would be too challenging? If so, how would you handle that to still get the sale? Don't know. Interesting.
It's a tough question, because when you say have you been asked to do something too challenging, a lot of those, I think if you go back to you know, and there's lots of things I can't talk about tonight because this time doesn't allow it, but you know, I did a lot of stuff on finding my ideal client, and you know, my website's quite quirky really. There's a lot of black and white in it, there's no groups on it, there's no real pose shots on it, so most of the clients that look at it, you know, I probably get 200 or 300 visitors a day to my website, and okay, a lot of them probably photographers, but I don't get many clients come through to me, and probably because a lot of them click on it and they just look at it and think that ain't for me. But you know what, it doesn't bother me, because I'd rather be niche and work with clients that want me. So I generally don't come up against those questions, you know, that, you know, I mean, I've had the odd girl say to me, oh, you know, we wanted a dinosaur shot a couple of years ago, and you know, you just got to say, like, I'm sorry, we don't do that sort of stuff, and you know, if you really want it, I can bring a second photographer along to sort of do that for you, but I don't know how to do it because I've never done it. And it's, as you can see, there's not that sort of stuff on my website. And I think the thing always you must be is honest and open with clients, and even if it's a difficult thing, you know, tell them the truth, because if you don't tell them the truth and you're not honest, it'll come back and bite you afterwards, and that's where generally problems start arising. If you're open and honest, and even if it's uncomfortable to say it, but at least you tell people why, you know, if you don't do that, why you don't do it, and she might get it. I mean, we had a request this year actually, and she said, oh, she goes, I've just seen these amazing pictures with smoke bombs, and could you do it for us? And I just said, I'm really sorry. I said, do you know what, I don't even know where to buy smoke bombs. And I said, I've never seen them. And she come back and she goes, oh, she goes, okay. She goes, I thought they might be a bit tacky and I wasn't sure if you do them. Whereas someone else might have said, yeah, I'd love to do that. I've never done that before. Whereas I would say, no, I've never done it before. I wouldn't say I'm not going to do it for you, but I'd bat it away with validation. I don't think I've answered the person's question, Jay, but that's the best I can do.
No, I think that's quite, yeah. Like you said, I mean, if at the end of the day, if the term is too challenging, I can only imagine maybe physically, you've got to be honest, haven't you? You're not going to do stuff that you can't physically do. I would have thought. I've got a great story that I could share with you about smoke bombs and photo shoots, but we haven't got time for that one tonight. But yes, guys, if you are using smoke bombs, please make sure you use them carefully and make sure you've got permission to use them in the areas you're using them, as we discussed, covered
I think that's the other thing I said to her. She actually wanted it at Clifton, and I said, I think you'll need to ask permission and you'll need to get a license to do it. And again, that was another thing that just like she suddenly thought, well, you know, it's not worth it.
No, it's
so
not.
yeah.
Trust me, it's
Next
not.
question.
Mark, I think you touched on it, just to give people an idea of how it works. Obviously, you said that you're pre-selling the album, so effectively in your pricing structure, they're buying you and your time to start with. Is that right?
Yeah, I have 3 packages, and what the top one does include albums, but very few people go for it. But generally, I'm selling them my time and a digital set of images, and they can buy extra time if they want to. It's generally time limited, so a lot of clients buy extra time, or I negotiate that with them.
Perfect, brilliant. This was an interesting question, and again, I suppose it's in the right vein, really. Do you offer gift vouchers for the guest to purchase or to pay towards the photography?
I've never done it ever. I'm probably missing a trick. I'm probably quite a lazy photographer. When digital first come out, I was kind of crazy, and I would show the images that night, and I'd have them online and all that sort of thing. I don't do that sort of stuff anymore. They wait a couple of weeks for their images, and I'd say to the bride and groom, you've got the password. It's up to you who you share them with, and that's as far as I go.
So I presume with the packages, and I think you touched on it, the next question I had was to do with order of reprints, but are you just giving them their images and let them sorting that out as part of the package?
Yeah, I do say to them, I use SmugMug which again is part of, it's attached to Loxley, so it all works kind of seamlessly for me. But I upload all the images to SmugMug, and I put a price on the images. And I don't think it matters really what you charge for them. People want to buy them, they'll buy them. I've tried all sorts of prices from, £1 for a print up to sort of 15 quid for a print, and it hasn't made much difference to sales. We don't sell a lot online these days. It generally covers the cost of the hosting over the year, which is kind of fine. If we go back in the old days, we used to sell as much in print value as we used to in the photography value. But I don't sell a lot of prints these days. I do offer them a fulfillment service through Loxley's. Occasionally we get a nice little order, but it's not every wedding. I'm sure the bride and groom give the password out. I tell them it's got a download of one link one time, but I can't stop them downloading it many times or sharing it. So my view is, I give all the prints to the bride and groom that are good. My view is they're worthless to anyone else. They're priceless to the couple. So just let them have them these days, and you make your money from the bride and groom, and charge a fair price that you're happy with. And that fair price you're happy with might be 500 quid, or it might be 2,000. It's whatever you're comfortable with. There's no right or wrong of what you should be charging.
Perfect. Brilliant. How do you handle when best advice for handling it when the bride and groom have not factored enough time on their wedding day to get the shots they've asked for?
It never happens with me because
you're documentary.
We predominantly documentary, and the way we get around it is, number one is you get what you'll be asked to do what you show. So if you show lots of fantastic landscapes with brides, in those pictures, that's the sort of bride you're going to attract. If you just show pure documentary, you're going to get that type of bride. We still do get asked for groups, but when we send a form out to them before the wedding, there's only space on there for 6 groups, so she can't put in many more. Sometimes they try and put 1 or 2 extra under it, and I say, look, the groups are going to take roughly, I say it always takes 2 to 3 minutes per group. Most of the groups I do are quite small, so even if it's never even that long to do the groups. And then my pictures of couples, what you'll tend to find, when you start specializing, you get good at things and you get bad at things. And I'm crap at posing people. I've got an idea, but I've got 2 or 3 poses that I use, and normally I say to bride and grooms, just hold each other how you feel comfortable with, and whoever you're with as a partner, you hold them in a particular way. And if you think back to a previous partner, you probably held them totally different. So I'm trying to reflect that in their pictures. I don't pose my couples hardly at all, but my couples don't expect it. I don't get, I see these amazing images from other photographers, and I never get clients ever asking me for them. And if I started taking my clients off for 30 minutes to go and do some amazing pictures, most of them would say, we want to get back with our friends. Probably the most posy I do on probably about 5 or 6 weddings a year is I do a sunset shot. And then I set it all up outside, and then I just say to the bride, it's ready, and they know they're going to be 5 minutes maximum. And that's it, Jay.
Brilliant, perfect, mate. Obviously, you talked about the fact that you've got, your basic 3 packages. The question, though, is, and obviously, we always get asked these questions, and we always find it quite hard. It's about how do I determine what those prices are? But we're all different photographers at different levels. So, what's your advice, about how you do structure your pricing? And obviously, not on your pricing, but maybe to somebody who thinks maybe they're not charging enough.
Yeah, I mean, price is such a difficult thing and personal thing, and I'm sure most photographers sit down with other photographers and talk to other photographers about what's going on, or I've got a couple of what I call really good friend photographers, and we meet maybe once a week for a coffee or whatever, and we're all different prices, and it's what you feel comfortable with, Jay. What you should charge, and I met some other photographers the other week. One of them said, he said, "What do you charge?" And my charge is £2,000 for disc only. And he was saying, "Well, I'm £1,200," and he said that's for 2 photographers and unlimited attendance. And he said, I said, "What do you mean by unlimited?" He said, "Well," he said, "whatever they want." He said, "If they want me there till 10 o'clock at night, I'll stay there till 10. And he said, travel, he said, "I don't charge for petrol. And if I've got to stay overnight," he says, "I just stay in a little bed and breakfast. So it's another £50." And I said, you're so underselling yourself. And he says, "But I'm happy with that." He said, "I used to work in a call center and I was earning, I brought home £1,200 a month." He said, "So if I'm going to earn £1,200 on a Saturday, I'm happy." And there's nothing wrong with that at all. It depends what you want and what you feel your worth is, and everyone's worth is different, and everyone sees their what they should or believes they should be charging different amounts of money. And I do weddings for a lot less than 2,000 if I really want to do it, but I'm in a position now where I don't need to do that, and I've been doing it for 30 years, so I don't have 3 kids at home and a mortgage and a wife, and I haven't got to keep them all. I've just got myself, basically, Jay. But
I think you touched on a really good point there, and what you said it, and I just want to reiterate on that. And it's believing in yourself and believing what you're worth. Obviously, yeah, you've got to do the maths. You've got to earn what you need to earn. But at the same time, you've got to believe in yourself, like you said. And like you said, you've worked damn hard to be where you are, Mark, as well. So And that's the other thing. You've put the time and you've put it in, and you're selling you. And obviously, we've got if you're starting out, you've got to do that. You've got to build your presence, build your awareness, build your audience. But I think it's I think you nailed it. Where you said you've got to believe in yourself. I think that was really, really.
As well, Jay. If you're starting out as a photographer on this is your new career, and this is what you're really passionate about, and you're working in in a call center, or you're working you're doing a manual, you might be stacking shelves at Sainsbury's or something, whatever, and you're earning £7 an hour. To go from £7 an hour to earning 500 quid for a day is bloody amazing. And you're going to think, hey, I'm rock and rolling now. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, because as long as your clients are happy with the work that you're producing, and you're happy with the income you're getting, it doesn't matter what you charge. You just charge what you want to, and what you believe you can. But if you are down at lower level, try the albums, because that's where you can make the difference to yourself and the clients. You can double maybe the value of your wedding. You could charge 500 quid for doing a wedding, and say, if you want me to stay 2 extra hours, it's another 250 quid. So there's nothing wrong with charging whatever you want, I don't believe, Jay. I mean, I'm not in that camp that people say, you're wrecking the industry and you're doing this. It's, different people want different things. And there's girls out there who will spend 30 quid on a handbag, and there's girls out there who will go and spend 3,000 or 4,000 quid on a Louis Vuitton handbag. They all do the same job. They're all made of a bit of leather, but some people see a value in that 3,000 or 4,000 quid handbag, and other people just think, that's crazy. And there's a market for everything out there.
Brilliant. Just a couple of questions left, mate, for you. I'm seeing, this was the question, I've been seeing more video being incorporated into the packages. Is this something that you've considered?
No, it's not. I do have, I'm a stills photographer, and I've always been a stills photographer, and I've never shot video ever. Well, I say ever, I started doing a little bit on my iPhone, on my travel photography courses, just so that I can give people a little idea of what it's like in these places. But no, I can't see myself doing it, Jay. I don't have the time or the inclination or the passion to do it. And
we don't even here. I mean, even with Mark Clegg Photography and the wedding photography that we still do, we're stills photographers, and that's that. I mean, obviously we've got an in-house video team, so if they want video production, then it's a separate. It's not part of the photography package. We're not saying that we wouldn't offer it.
No, I think it has to be. I think it's a totally different genre and way of shooting, and videographer needs to shoot something for 10 or 15 seconds to get a couple of seconds, whereas we take a picture and you're looking for one little moment in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. Last of the main questions for you. Where would you say the majority of your clients find you then, Mark? Is it social media? Is it recommendations? Is it your website?
None of those really. It's all recommendations, and it's all recommendations. It's all word of mouth. And I would encourage anyone, whatever level of business you're at, or whatever level of client you have, go and start working with some people and building relationships. I mean, I've got 2 hotels locally to me that have been recommending me for over 25 years. And I look after them. If they want things, they want people headshots, or they want some room shots, I do it for free. I've got a Smug Mug cloud for Clifton Photography, and every time I do a wedding at Clifton, I'll put the detail shots in there. So if she wants any detail shots, she just goes there and asks them. And I'm a big believer in give until it hurts you, but with a purpose. Don't do it to too many people. choose a small amount of people to do it with who respect you and who are willing to work with you. And the longer you work with a particular person, the more entrenched you are. So when I go into Cliveden House, I know the concierge, I know the manager, I know the managing director there, I know the wedding coordinator. So if the wedding coordinator leaves, it doesn't bother me, because the next person's going to come in and she's virtually going to be, or he's virtually going to be told to use me because everyone else knows me there. And so I'd always recommend, relationships are so much better. You know, you can spend all your money on Google AdWords and next week Google and make a change, and you've got to start from scratch again. And you know, I see so many photographers who do that, and it's so hard to plan it. And it does take a bit longer to build relationships up, but just go and build relationships with hotels. You know, one of the best things you can do to a hotel is give them an album, but don't give them an album of a wedding, because they're not interested in it. Why do that? All you're doing is showing them, you're asking them to show them your work to a potential bride, and they're relying upon them doing that. But if you make an album up of detail shots, so sometimes I say to Clifton, you know what, if you've got a big wedding here, and I'm only 10 minutes down the road and I haven't got a wedding on a Saturday, I said, just give me a shout, I'll come and do some detail shots for you. Now, the girl at Clifton has got an album that's about 30 pages that's got 20 different weddings in it, and just table shots and pictures of plates and food and all that sort of stuff. And she uses that like a Bible, because I've given her a sales tool to use rather than giving her a pretty girl's album and saying, oh, look, this is an amazing wedding. And there's only one page in there she can probably use anyway, because she's not interested in you as a photographer. She's interested in selling her venue to the next couple. So give her something to use to help her with that. And then, you know, you're going to get in there and get those referrals, because she's going to say, oh, this is David's work or Mark's work or Jay's work. She's going to be talking about you.
Oh, great advice, mate. Great advice. Well, the questions are done. But something we quickly need to chat about before we finish. But Mark, before I forget, in case I forget, loads of thanks and praise have come through the chat panel already, mate. So
thank you.
From me to you, and obviously Ali's there in the wings as well. Thanks for Ali for being with us tonight.